Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. We're here today to do another 2019 ski review. This is kind of exciting because it's our first Liberty review. If you follow Chairlift Chat, our blog, you may have seen our article kind of announcing Liberty as a new brand for us back in January. But we haven't yet done an in-depth review of their skis. And I think this is a really exciting one. This is the new V92 for 2019, which is kind of a new thing for Liberty, which we'll get into a little bit more. But we've been on this ski quite a bit. Probably skied it for the first time down at Stratton earlier this year. It was in our 2019 ski test, which we're working through the results of that right now. And then I got on it, spent a couple days on it. Towards the end of the season, we actually had really good testing conditions. We didn't have a typical April here in Stowe, so we had a lot of firm conditions. We actually got a lot of snow. There were kind of some icy days when I was on the V92. So pretty exciting new ski, and I think I really had good terrain and good conditions to test a ski like this. Which was exciting for me because this is a new ski, kind of a new overall concept for Liberty. So if you're unfamiliar with Liberty, they've been around, I want to say the first years of the company were around 2003, 2004, definitely early 2000s. And historically they've been known for twin tips, bamboo cores. They were kind of one of the first companies to really start focusing on bamboo cores, which they still use a lot of bamboo in their skis. So that's cool. Bamboo is very sustainable, which is one of the best things about it. In terms of sustainability and environmentally friendly reasons. But it also happens to be a fun material for skis, very light and very energetic. So Liberty started very focused on kind of park skiing, free ride, twin tip. That category. They've had some really wide, crazy skis over the years. The Mutant. Has anyone ever skied a Mutant? Thing's pretty crazy. The Genome too. I think they still have the Genome in the line, but that thing's pretty wild too. It's like 140 something underfoot. And in recent years, we've seen them start to move in a direction where they're offering skis to a wider range of skiers. Definitely expanding their target market, not just freeride skiers, not just park skiers. They still have those skis for sure, and they still are one of the companies that's most kind of pays the closest attention to that part of skiing, or that segment of skiing, and they definitely care a lot about it. But yeah, in recent years, we're starting to see them make more directional all-mountain skis. I brought the Origins up here because I think they're a pretty good example. Still twin tips, but they're starting to get more directional and more focused on an all-mountain skier who's not maybe skiing in the park very often, which was kind of a new thing for Liberty. And then for 2019, they take it a giant leap forward in that same sense with this new V series. So we're going to talk about this quite a bit. I want to go over the construction because the construction is pretty important, and then we'll talk about the shape, and then I'll talk about how I thought its performance was. Construction is pretty cool. Unique in a sense, but if you've been watching our videos, you're probably going to notice that it's somewhat similar to what another brand is doing, which I'll mention a little later. But this uses what's called vertical metal technology. So essentially the core of the ski is kind of vertical strips of poplar and bamboo. So fairly standard there. And then there's two strips of vertical metal struts that basically run about where I'm kind of dragging my fingers. So it's not in the center of the ski, which if you look at the logo of the ski, might suggest that it's right in the center. It's actually two struts kind of symmetrically surrounding the center of the ski. So two two pieces of metal there. And you know, if you were answering my previous question and responding to yourself, yes, Rossignol is kind of the other company that we're seeing do a similar construction technique for 2019, but Rossignol has one strip down the middle. So similar concepts, but there's some difference there for sure. And in addition to the metal, there's also a vertical carbon stringer that does run down the center of the ski. So you've got carbon stringer in the center, those two kind of metal struts that kind of go along the sides of that, or symmetrically around it. And then the whole thing is covered, basically it's sandwiched between two full sheets of carbon fiber. So plenty of carbon in the ski, which is pretty cool. There's some steel reinforcements, basically two pieces of steel, one for the heel and one for the toe, that help with binding retention and also strengthen the ski up just a little bit right underfoot. And then the shape of the V92 here and all the other VMT skis, definitely different than what Liberty has done in the past. This ski is not a twin tip. It does not use any tail rocker. It's 90% camber and 10% tip rocker. And there's really not that much tip rise. Basically with the ski fully decambered, the rocker's starting just about right there. So not very long at all. But it is there. There's a tiny bit of rise in the tail, but overall it's pretty flat, pretty squared off. And then another thing that I find very interesting about the V92 here is it has the opposite of early taper. So if you watch the Rossignol Experience reviews, both the 88 and the 94, we talked a lot about how Rossignol went away from that extended side cut profile into a more tapered tip. Liberty pretty much did the opposite with this ski. They wanted full-length edge contact, so they gave it really wide tip and this blunt, kind of very blunt, almost like chopped off flat tip shape. And I think that makes sense. I'll get into performance in a little bit. These brakes are the craziest thing ever. But I think it makes sense because, you know, if you look through Liberty's line, they have skis that are similar width. There's one right here next to us, the Origin 92 or 90. You know, that's basically the same width, but it's already got a nice tip shape for, you know, more versatility, better soft snow performance if you're looking for maneuverability. So it makes sense to me that Liberty chose this shape for this ski. So that's basically it. I think I forgot there's also metal tip protectors that are really cool. There's one on the tail too. And I've never really seen... I've seen similar stuff on skis, but Liberty did a really good job designing this tip. Definitely going to increase durability over the long run. I think it probably quiets the ski down just a tiny bit in the tips and tails too. Just having that extra weight up there and a little bit more metal. So performance, like I said, I've skied the V92 a few times now. I think my favorite place to test it, if you've skied Stowe, the top of a trail called Nosedive is pretty steep and has, call it 3 kind of sharp corners in it. And it's not exceptionally wide through those corners, and Nosedive is a pretty popular trail, so it tends to get pretty skied off right in the middle. And I found that was a great place to test the edge grip of this ski. It was definitely pretty firm when I was skiing that stuff. And I really liked this ski. I'm going to step back a second. I did ski some more mellow groomers, and I started the day just trying to lay down carving turns on it. And for kind of some background, earlier in the day I was on almost a full-on Rossignol race ski. So doing some testing on that, and then went straight from that to the V92. And probably the first thing that I noticed is you don't get an exceptional amount of pop or spring out of a turn. which made sense to me because there's not a ton of camber in it. You know, lengthwise there is 90% of the ski is camber, but it doesn't rise a ton. So although there's a lot of carbon in it, it's not like really springy, which I actually liked because skiing that Rossignol to start the day, my legs were getting pretty tired. I was skiing hard, and you know, I was really trying to ski my best on it and live up to the potential of a ski with, you know, 2 sheets of metal, pretty heavy, all that stuff. And my legs were getting pretty tired just kind of keeping up with it. And on the V92, I felt like it would perform as high as I wanted to go. So the more skier input I put into it, the more responsive it was. There's definitely plenty of power and stability in it when you're just linking carving turns. Definitely feels lighter than a ski with 2 sheets of metal. So those vertical metal struts, they definitely do the job of metal, but aren't nearly as heavy. And I really liked just kind of cruising, well, not cruising even, I was skiing pretty hard. Kind of took the same level of aggressiveness off the Rossi race ski onto these. And I really liked that how smooth it was linking carving turns, how predictable it was, no surprises, and it was far less fatiguing. So, you know, I could just take this out, ski pretty steep trails all day, and just rip turns on it all day, and I don't think I'd get nearly as tired as on more traditional carving skis or race skis or anything like that. Now going back to Nosedive was not a perfect trail to lay down groomers or lay down carves on. It was almost more like survival skiing, and I almost like I really liked the V92 in those conditions, and I think people encounter conditions like that a lot, and it's nice to have a ski where you can, you know, if you're skiing something that's steep and icy, you still feel like you're in control and feel like you can actually ski. You're not just kind of sliding down it uncontrolled, which, you know, if you were on, say, even like in the Origin 90, if I was on the Origin 90 and I was skiing that same icy steep terrain, I would not have had nearly the same level of confidence as I did on the V92. I really like the way it lets you release the tail edge and hold it there, so you can like make a really long, drawn out sliding turn. But it doesn't feel like I was saying, it doesn't feel like you're out of control. You can maintain a really nice amount of control as you're releasing the tail edge and getting the ski to slide and pivot. Which I'll admit I was surprised by because it doesn't have tail rocker. I was definitely surprised by how easy it was for me to basically side slip at high speeds, which it's hard to do stuff like that on a traditional carving ski. So it's a pretty cool combination. You know, you get that high performance carving feel, but it definitely allows you to make some different turn shapes than you normally would on a carving ski. And then the sides of Nosedive that same day, normally what happens is people ski right down the middle and the snow kind of gets pushed up on the sides of the trail. So the sides were actually much softer, and you can kind of cut the corners on Nosedive and get some pretty steep turns in right on the corners of the trail. So I kind of did that the next run. You know, I skied Nosedive a few times the day when I was testing the V92. It just seemed like a great trail to test it on. But I did that, and I was making much different turns. You know, instead of long, drawn-out, kind of sweeping, almost sliding turns down that icy pitch, I was making much quicker turns on the side of the trail. And you know, again, to compare to a ski like the Origin 90, definitely not as quick as the Origin 90. You know, again, there's no tail rocker, a little bit heavier, touch more demanding, but it's not really a demanding ski. But I thought it was still pretty quick, pretty versatile. Definitely wasn't too challenging to ski it in terrain like that. It wasn't like full-on moguls, but definitely variable, kind of inconsistent, softer snow conditions. And it did really well in that. Again, like not as easy as the Origin 90, but still really, really well for how high it performs as a carving ski. This is the widest ski in the new V series at 92 underfoot. There are 2 narrower models as well. So I haven't spent as much time on those, but I think, if you want more pure carving performance and you don't have as big of a demand for that versatility that I'm talking about, you can definitely go narrower on this ski. I think you will lose some of the ability to skid it and slide it. I think you'll lose a touch of versatility in soft snow, but quicker edge to edge, which is always fun on the carving ski. I definitely didn't think the V92 was sluggish edge to edge, but there's always something to be said about waist width in a carving ski. So that's the V92 from Liberty. Definitely exciting new ski for them. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions. I try not to go too long on this video, but I also wanted to give it some time to describe it thoroughly. But if I missed anything, or if you want me to circle back and touch on specific aspects of the ski or specific performance characteristics, definitely let me know. And we'll hopefully fit in a few more Liberty reviews before next season or early in next season. And definitely check our results from our 2019 ski tests, which will be released in July, because all 3 of the skis you see here will be included, plus tons of other Liberty models as well. So we're psyched to have Liberty as a brand. We're pretty excited about this new direction that they're going in. I like that they're retaining the history of the company and carrying those models forward, but kind of giving us a whole new option with the V series here. So check them out, let me know if you have any questions, and we will see you on the slopes.